of the series of monthly live interviews that we at Equipment do with engineers from around the world in different disciplines. My name's Dion Knowles, and today I am joined by Mohammad Alamoush. Mohammad is an aeronautical engineer, and Mohammad's going to be talking about his career and answering your questions live here on YouTube. Mohammad, welcome. How are you today? All good?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Hi, Dion. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thanks for having me on this show, and yeah, happy to share my experience and my background with you guys.
Brilliant. So, Mohammad, can you tell us a little bit, just perhaps a little summary of yourself, where you're from, and highlights of your career?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, my name is Mohammed. I am Jordanian, and I live currently in the Netherlands. I have a background of aeronautical engineering. I studied in Jordan. I studied aeronautical engineering, a bachelor's degree. And after that, I did an internship with aircraft maintenance provider in Jordan. It's called Joramco. And then I started my career Royal Jordanian Air Force as a power engineer. My focus on engine maintenance, engine continuous airworthiness, and also basically to keep the engine airworthy and available for operation. After that, after Jordanian, I moved to the Netherlands, where I got the opportunity to join Boeing. In Amsterdam, they have a business unit here in Amsterdam, which is basically providing lease and asset and maintenance management solutions. And yeah, right after that, I joined MTU Aero Engines, also in Amsterdam, which is basically my current position. And yeah, again, it's the same within the same area, aero engines, management, maintenance, planning, leasing. Yeah, that's in a nutshell it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Now, so for everybody who's watching this live, if you're a student, please do put a smiley face in the chat box. It'd be great to see. And let us know where you're watching from. So please do use that chat box. If you're a student, again, let us know. If you're generally watching, then please let us know where you're watching from as well. Any questions, put those in that chat box here. That's why you keep seeing me look over, because I'm monitoring the chat. All right. So while we wait for other people to join us, Mohammed, let's start off with what inspired you to become an engineer first off? Was there one big trigger or some key moments or key people in your life?
Yeah, well, basically it's a combination of two things, right? So starting with growing up in a family that aviation is in the blood, in the business, so aviation business in the blood. So my father is a retired pilot. He worked for the Air Force in Jordan, and then worked as a civilian pilot as well, and he has a massive of experience in the operation as a fleet captain. So basically, I grew in this atmosphere. I was always interested to know more about aviation. I joined multiple times my father on duty, on flights, on trips. It was very inspiring when you go into the cockpit, especially in the takeoff and landing, and you see all these buttons and technology around. It was always something I wanted to know more about, and how this machine work, right? The aircraft. So this is one part of it, and the other part, I was yeah, between, yeah, I would like to be like my father, a pilot, or, but I actually found I was more interested in the technical stuff. Yeah, on the engineering part of it, to understand how things work and why, and the physics. So this combination, basically between, yeah, what a key person in my life, like my father, was doing, and my interest into engineering and mechanics and physics was, yeah, both of them actually led to, yeah, this choice.
Brilliant. Now, you studied, I'm just flicking over to my other screen here, at Jordan University of Science and Technology. Now, I think you might have let your old lecturer know, so it'd be really interesting to know whether there's any students that have joined us from Jordan University of Science and Technology. If you have, then please let us know in the chat box. That would be awesome. I do see we've got various students on there. I've asked you all to put a smiley face on there if you're a student. That's brilliant. And we do have some students who've participated in that. We also have some of our regulars like Jeff Holt in New York. We also have Sambit from India, loyal watchers every time. So it's great to see you with us today. We've got Bassam Abu Zaid here with us today. We've got Zora Back as well, and a few other acronyms as well in there too. So great to see you. Just wanted to give you a bit of a shout out. So Mohammed, you decided, okay, you much rather focus on the actual engineering side of the aeronautical industry rather than going into being a pilot yourself. You studied at Jordan University of Science, I believe, as a Bachelor of Aeronautical Engineering, and then you went into doing an internship. Now that's going to be, for many students, I mean, maybe some of the students watching here today, or maybe watching back on demand, they may be, or an aeronautical engineering students, they're going to want to know, how do you get into that? What are those next steps? And what are you going to experience? So how did you get into your internship? Was that already set up for you, or did you have to go out and hunt for it?
No, well, this is a very, very good question. And yeah, basically, you know, especially for bachelor students in the last stages of their studies, they start to maybe evaluating options, whether I shall let's say pursue my studies, go further into the academics, go for a more program, so I'm more specialized into it on let's say on the academia side, or maybe, yeah, I need this kind of taste and understand really how it works in the field, right? So basically, I was in my fourth year, was going, yeah, considering both options. So I thought, yeah, maybe in order to make such a decision, I need maybe to go for an internship, and where I started to look in Jordan for companies that work in this in the industry, and it was not easy actually exercise. At the end of the day, the aviation industry is a bit maybe also small somehow comparing to other industries. So basically, it depends on where you live. Options are limited, right? So no, it was not easy. I applied within a big group to the available slots for this internship. This company, for example, every year have a limit amount of slots for internships. Also, the other options was Royal Jordanian Airlines in Jordan and another company. So I was trying to get into the internship, so I can have this feeling, understand yeah, what it means working in the maintenance side or in the operation side, so I can then make up my mind for which option to go for.
Okay, great. Well, we've had a question from Sambit. Now, Sambit asks, what are the practical training courses in first year aeronautical engineering? Perhaps what Sambit means is how much practical do you do on that first year of your degree? If any, maybe you might be laying down the foundations of theory, I'm not sure. And I guess that would probably vary according to institution. What was your experience at the university?
Well, very good question. Yeah, very good question. Let's say in summary, the theory is more, way more than the practical practice, at least for the program I took, and it was limited to labs. Basically that are combined with theoretical courses. As an example, and I found a lot of interest in this course, the aerodynamics course, the lab that we used to attend in the first year, and as well we had aerodynamics too, so 2 times where we took this course and the labs. And it was very interesting for me because we got more into the practice, from theory to practice. We did a lot of tests on wind tunnels. It was my first time to actually deal with it and do some like practices there. It was all theories the first year and the second year almost. So no, that was very interesting. Beside the aerodynamics lab, and just to mention as well, the setup that we had at the German University of Science and Technology was very advanced, I would say, in terms of equipments, in terms of available let's say tools for the students. So that's why also we had the lab into 2 divisions, let's say. And then general practice it was the thermodynamics, but also the mechanical engineering as well. They take this course, not limited to the aeronautical engineering. Also we had labs, the Avionics Lab, for example. This is also related to the aeronautics, where basically it's the avionics is the understanding the science of understanding the circuits, the electricity in the aircraft, right? The avionics bay, the computers, the connections. So basically that was an interesting and complicated one. As I was more into the mechanics side than the, let's say, electrical. We also had some other practical experience during my thesis, for example, where my project was together with a group of my colleagues. We designed a mini UAV, and basically it was at the beginning a lot of theories again, and but on the second part of it we did a lot of let's say practice, and in the lab, in the aerodynamics lab. We also went to the CFD lab, where we also did the design, and we did the also flow measurement on our model before starting to build our prototype at later stage of our thesis. So yeah, it's, let's say in summary, it's limited comparing to the amount of theory we have. It's also focused into the design aspects. I don't remember that we had any practical experience into the more business side, like maintenance or operations. No, it was more design oriented.
Okay, Brilliant. So let's go back to your internship now. If we've got students out there who are studying aircraft maintenance or aeronautic engineering, any related engineering degree of that course, what were you doing as an intern? Were you a maintenance? You were a liaison engineer. So what really does that mean?
Well, basically, it's the idea was to learn as much from different, let's say, areas within the company I worked for. So basically, it was on-job training, more or less. And we had a program where we spend some time, for example, in the hangar. Then we moved to the shops. Then the production, then the planning, then the engineering. So basically, we went over all the whole place. My internship was a long one. I spent about a year, and I spent, let's say, enough time in every department. Yeah, we were, let's say, working with for example, in the hangar with the mechanics, with the technicians. So hands-on. Yeah, of course, we were not allowed to do, let's say, work by ourselves, but we were helping. We had the job cards. So we were reading the instructions, standing next to the inspector during, for example, an inspection or check or go around, for example. So yeah, we were basically witnessing the work when it came to more hands-on, like the hangar or the shops. If we talk about the shops, component shops for the aircraft, where the basic components are being serviced or maintained, like the, for example, APU, the landing gear, the structure, the sheet metal, the avionics. Yeah, and basically similar, you just also witness the maintenance and the servicing according to the maintenance manuals. So this kind of give you an understanding what really happens in the field and how. So it gives you this favor. And then when it comes to the more engineering related, like the production planning, where basically the team there is planning. They receive a package of specific maintenance that need to be carried out on the aircraft, and just basically there are different types of maintenance, or they call it letter check, like A check, B check. So every interval, like you have it in your car, for example, every an interval, you have a certain amount of tasks that you need to do, whether a modification or an inspection, some routine tasks. So basically, the production and planning team, they receive this package. They then assign it to the right teams that are working on the aircraft. So if this task is related to zone A on the aircraft, if we talk about the structure, they send it to the right team. If it's for the cabin or the avionics bay or the engines, etc. So they distribute the work, they assign it, they put the time frame, and also they make the material required available on time. So it's more to manage the work on the aircraft. And then you go to the engineering section, where basically their part is to evaluate the maintenance manuals, to let's say evaluate the modifications that the manufacturers or the OEM releases from time to time, and decide whether they need to do this modification or not on this component, on that aircraft, and so on. So it's also interesting. A lot of knowledge is required, and but also in the aviation industry in general, it's a heavily regulated for everything, there is a dedicated a checklist, procedure, quality system. So it's straightforward. It's not easy. You need to do a lot of reading, but at least you have a guidelines, checklists, and yeah, a lot of also people with knowledge that you can learn from.
Great. We've got one question. Osama Amouche has asked, to what extent do you think your first internship contributes in shaping your future career and your options?
No, very good question. Basically, like I mentioned in the beginning, I was between going for pursuing my master's degree, so going for the academia more, or shall I maybe go to the field and start working. So I was between those two difficult decisions, and basically based on this decision, it might determine yeah, I don't want to say the rest of your career, but at least it will take you in a specific direction, right? So I that's why I decided, no, I think maybe I need like a gap year to not a gap year, but actually to this gap year is to do an internship to evaluate really what does it mean to start working at this field, the maintenance, the operation of the aircraft. It's completely different than the design, where basically you can get there by continuing your academia, master's and PhD, right? So I was that's why I chose to spend some time and go for this internship. And actually in the beginning my internship was 6 months, but because I liked it, I wanted to know more. I decided to extend it. I asked the company and they were happy to do so. So definitely this decision to take this internship helped me to make the decision and be what I am right now. Yeah, and I think I'm glad I did make this choice.
Great. So you'd done your year, and at that point, it was time to get into the real world of work. You've tasted so many different parts of the aeronautical industry, and it was time to choose and move forward. And you then went to Royal Jordanian Airlines, I understand. Could you tell us more about that role? How did you get it as well? How did you purposely go out for it, or was it? Do tell us that journey and then about the role itself.
Yeah, no, it was not an easy one, and actually I waited 6 months after my internship until I managed to start, and I went through a long process in terms of applying, in terms I did like 2 interviews, I remember, and then there was a security in the maintenance and operation field in anywhere, in any place in the world. You need to have a security clearance as well, because you're working on the air side. They call it the air side, where the aircrafts are, the apron, the maintenance facilities, the runway. So it's not that easy actually comparing maybe to industry. It's you need to go through this process, and there's a lot of security and safety training that you need to do before you start. And there's like also every you need to keep current of those trainings to keep people aware of the practices, of the measures, of the to keep this safety let's say mindset, because the aviation industry is considered the safest mean of transport, and basically a lot of work and a lot of training, a lot of regulations actually are behind what we know and what we see. So basically that's what everyone who enters this field needs to go through. So yeah, basically it took me 6 months, was a really heavy competition. Like I mentioned, it's you have limited options, and it depends where you are at. But for me, I think it was not that easy. So yeah, and after 6 months, I managed to get my let's say first official role in my career. And in the first 6 months, I spent, I had a lot of also trainings and some orientations in different sections before I started my actual job as a power plant engineer.
So what did that, if you think power plant engineer, what specifically, what we were working on the mechanical component wise, and what was that work exactly?
Well, yeah. Yeah, the power plant actually is one of the very interesting sections within the engineering or technical services in at any airline, because it needs a lot of knowledge from the let's say theory or an engine design perspective, but also it needs a lot of knowledge when it comes to issues, faults, findings, problems that happens during engine operation. Adding to that, you have to have this kind of business acumen, because you are responsible to manage the lease contracts, the maintenance contracts, the parts pooling contracts. So it's actually a lot of things, and it's not that easy that from day one that you can just start performing and delivering. I actually was lucky enough that I had very good supervisors, a very good team, and very good manager who was really taking good care of me in order to learn this business. I was sent to the field, standing next to the technicians, evaluating the engine's problems. I remember also, it was not that easy. I remember I spent a lot of, let's say in many cases, 24 hours or even more in the airport, because there was maybe an issue that caused like what we call an AOG, or aircraft on the ground, because if there's like some certain findings, the aircraft is not allowed to operate, right? So you need to be there with a rescue team. It's a combination of engineering and mechanics who need to study the problem, evaluate it. Sometimes they need to contact the OEM, and they have this pressure. They are working in very short time in order, and the whole team have one target, is to return aircraft back to service. So it was difficult. I spent a lot of, let's say, as mentioned, time in the airport, but it was like, to me, I really enjoyed this challenge, right? It's very challenging. It makes you also always looking for the information, and to me, I'm always like willing to learn new things. So it worked pretty well. This challenge actually made me a better person. Made me also want to know more about the engines, how things works, the theory behind it, the design. Also part of the job, actually, we were attending a lot of conferences. So for each engine programs, for each fleet, there are regular conferences arranged by the OEM, GE or Pratt & Whitney, Airbus, Boeing, etc. And in order to keep your knowledge up to date with all the issues that happen in the fleet worldwide, you have to attend those conferences, communicate with other operators to understand what they see differently in their operation. Also you talk with the program owners, the engineers who really developed the engine. So this knowledge, the sharing of this knowledge, and what you learn from different service bulletins and fleet highlights, the conferences, the articles. As I mentioned, the other operators' experience. All this knowledge and experience would help you definitely to solve a problem faster and make the aircraft available for operation.
Great. We've got a few questions now, Mohammed. One of them, let's start off with Jamil. Jamil also wants to say it's very much of a pleasure to join you today and experience from your knowledge. The question there is, what is the difference between working in the field and going to the academy research and education?
Yeah, very good question. Well, I think, I mean, since let's say my experience now 8 years, it was purely working in the industrial side and on the field. I think that the difference would be, you're actually working with in the operational side or the maintenance side according to the OEM, let's say, experience, who designed this equipment or this engine or this aircraft, right? So basically, you are more into, let's say, experiencing what's really happening on the field from the operation, from the maintenance side. And on the other hand, you have the design, where those guys are, and the research, they basically, their goals and targets is to always work to deliver a better product, a more durable product, more efficient product in terms of fuel, in terms of reliability, in terms of lifetime, etc. So we have maybe different goals. I mean, I'm talking about the, let's say, the design aspect and the more industrial aspect. At the end of the day, we have one mission, is to utilize those to utilize the technology for the air transport industry, right? And basically, my experience working with the design side, there is both parties need each other. So people who works on the field, on the maintenance, on the operational side, they need to collaborate and work with the engineers who design the equipment, the engine, the component, the parts, etc., in order to always make sure there is they are working within a safety. High safety standards. Also, they need to report to, because at the end of the day, the operator is taking the risk and operating this aircraft, right? And any findings in the, like, there are many things you cannot really validate during the research or in the design field, right? And you always need to have the feedback from the field, from the operation. So, and also it works the other way around. Basically, in order to solve a problem that happens during operation, you would need to understand the theory behind it. And that's why you need to work with the engineering side from the OEM to go and chase the root cause, right? So sometimes, yeah, maybe you try to follow the manual to find an interim fix for a solution, then you can operate. But at the same time, you are working with the OEM to chase the root cause and find a final fix for these problems. So I think it's working together. Both parties are collaborating to end of the day to deliver better product to the industry. And but I think the scope of work is completely different.
Okay, great. We've got another question now. Dr. Quadha, do you encourage the new graduates engineers to go into airlines or MRO?
Well, let's say, away from the Corona situation. And right now it's our industry, the aviation industry, is one of the heavily impacted industries. But nevertheless, I think a lot of experts in our industry are predicting that we're gonna get back to pre-COVID-19 somewhere next year. So don't worry, guys. Yeah, well, I think the airlines and also maintenance providers and the industry will get back to hiring at some point. So I don't think this issue will last longer than next year as well. I will definitely, recommend, if this is you're ambitious, if this is what you let's say, if it's the place where you think you can really thrive and find yourself, whether within an operator or a maintenance provider, then go for it. Like I mentioned, I mean, maybe you can go for like a short internship to understand more before you decide where to go or which direction to proceed.
That brings us to another question. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No problem.
The other question is, what is better? Is it an apprenticeship or an internship? What's your perspective on that? Yeah, well, I think this also depends on the program itself, how the program you study is structured. For example, there are some bachelor programs, they don't have this let's say concept like you can go for an internship, but there are more like applied schools that where you can have kind of more combination between really like on-field learning and I think they call it sandwich course. So it depends which program you want to go for, and just to highlight this, if you know definitely that you want to work in the airlines or maintenance or in general in the industry, but more maintenance or operation side, then I think those applied programs would be more relevant. But if you're not sure, you might you might consider as well going for the research and the academia and the design aspect. I would recommend to go for a bachelor and then maybe an internship. All right, brilliant, good. Now we've been answering a lot of questions, but we haven't been talking about the rest of your career. So you then decided to move out of Jordan and go to Netherlands to go and work for a Boeing company. Could you tell us more about your role at Data? Yeah, well, that was a really an interesting role, and basically maybe I can give you the background behind it. And actually, while I was working with Royal Jordanian Airlines, one of the important tasks that the power plant engineer is doing, basically the fleet management, right? Basically, which is including the maintenance planning, the forecasting, the staggering of engine removals, etc. And it's really extensive task because it summarizes all the aspects from the field, from the maintenance side, from the operation side, etc. And I remember the available tools I was utilizing to do this task was like very limited, like Microsoft tools. And so I started actually my search. I was like, I think there should be someone who thought about developing some sort of tools that airlines can use to better manage their fleets, do a better, let's say, forecasting, also consider more data points, because I mean, no matter how your Excel skills are good, there are always some limitations, right, with Excel. So there's maybe a software. So I started my search
for a tool that can support airlines to do the fleet management. And then I found that AirData Boeing is they develop such solutions, and they provide solutions to airlines and also lessors to manage their fleets. So that was really interesting for me. And at that time, when I was doing my search, they were looking for a technical consultant. And then I was like, okay, let's see. And I give it the shot, and I applied. And this is how I went to AirData. And basically, yeah, this is what I wanted to learn more, right? About how airlines can better manage their fleets. What are the available tools? What are the different methods and practices they are following? Are the challenges different between airline A and B and C because maybe of the fleet size, the operational environment, and so on? So I was looking for some answers. So I think that was what made me to make this decision and move. And I think during my time within AirData Boeing, I think I found a lot of answers, and no, I enjoyed working because also it was a different exposure for me. I used to work with the mechanics, with engineers in this dynamic environment, but then I changed to working with developers and programmers, and it was a completely different aspect, but interesting, right? So I joined the team because I have the business background, they have the IT programming background. The idea was to develop a tool and also support airlines with existing tools to better manage their fleet. And that was really, really interesting and learning experience for me.
Excellent. We've got another question from Zora that I didn't ask earlier. Talking about your first job as a fresh graduate, did you have this fear like, am I ready to do it, or do I know enough? And how did you overcome these fears?
Well, I mean, I think this question always comes whenever I mean you are in the early stages of your career, or if you're starting a new job, or you are maybe considering to move maybe away a bit of your comfort zone. Let's say, like for example, I worked with an airline 6 years ago, but today I'm working for a maintenance provider and lessor. So I always actually had this question in mind, and yeah, it's different than what I used to do. It's new to me. Will I do good? I'm not sure, right? So this is, I mean, a normal question. It's not only like I mentioned in the early beginnings, but I think that the good answer for this question is, if you have a passion for what you're applying for this industry or that job, or working with an airline or MRO, etc., or in the design field, I think you don't need to worry about the whether you're gonna do good or not, because it's always a matter of learning. If you're willing to learn, you will always find the references and resources and support from people that are working with you, or from your management, or also the references that are available. So this is, if you have the willing, then it's fine, you can do it. So don't worry about that. And yeah, it's just important to be passionate about what you want to do.
Great, what a great message. So have no fear, believe in your passion. Samvit's asked a quick question about tools, equipment and tool required for aircraft maintenance engineering training. Now, I know we have a couple of case studies on the Tech Equipment website. Great colleges, one at Solihull College, one at Milton Keynes College, and they've both got aeronautical and aircraft maintenance courses on there, and whether they've got various different engines or wind tunnels, whether it's subsonic wind tunnels or supersonic wind tunnels. Anybody that does want to find out more can look on the Tech Equipment website and look on the case studies and find those two particular case studies. So let's come back to you now, Mohammad. You then, after you spent time at Air Data, I'm looking at my other screen now at your CV, you then moved to MTU for a maintenance lease services. Could you tell us about why you made that move and then what that role involved?
Hello?
Hello? Yeah, you still there? I think you might still be there. Yep, we can hear you now.
Yeah, the line was breaking up. Can you please repeat your question?
Your next role now, you're at MTU. Can you tell us more about why you then moved from Air Data to MTU and what that new role involved?
Yeah. So basically, like I mentioned, I moved from industry to IT, and then I was like, yeah, this combination is perfect in order to provide a good service for the operators from coming from the maintenance side and from the leasing side. And basically, now we are there's a lot of discussion in the industry about digitalization and digital transformation. And one of the important topics that are coming up, which is basically predictive maintenance. Mm-hmm. And how we can utilize some solutions that are already available in the market for some time off the shelf to tailor it and make it applicable to use case in the industry. For example, now IoT tools to collect the data in the field from the aircraft. Also utilizing AI in predictive maintenance. So there are a lot of initiatives, let's say, and projects that are going on in the industry. A lot of companies are investing big time to really transform and make utilize these solutions and make them available to better support, let's say, their customers, right? So for me, when at the point when before I joined MTU, basically this topic, which is like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the topic was trending. And I found that MTU was hiring for, let's say, a position in digital transformation, right? And they wanted someone that has like the set of skills that they were looking at. And this is something already like a trending in the market. And this is a message maybe to send to the students, what skill set now companies in the industry are looking at. So beside the business knowledge, now you see many companies adding the IT set of skills, right? Like if you're good with programming, if you know a programming language, if sometimes you are tech savvy and you have an analytical sense to support in the analytics side of the business or data mining. And so basically the set of skills they were looking at was combination between my previous experience and my current experience at that time with Air Data, which is more IT. So it was actually a perfect fit. And I wanted to actually to step into the digital transformation because it's a topic or area, because it's a hot topic, it's trending, and this is where the future where we are going, let's say, in the future. So I thought, I think it's right time now to step into it, and this is how I joined MTU Aero Engines. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, in a few minutes, we could come on and talk about where you think the industry is going and what kind of skills you think that students now need to be thinking about the jobs of the future. We've got some more questions, though, in the meantime. It's great today because we've got plenty of people asking questions. I-77 has asked, what is the best thing about being an aeronautical engineer?
Traveling. To summarize, yeah, it's traveling. Well, I think a big part of the job that is traveling, and actually, yeah, I'm glad that through my experience over the last 8 years, I visit a lot of places. Yeah, maybe half of it was just visiting the airport, going into the city. But yeah, but I enjoyed this part. Of course, besides it's challenging, it is what I want, but it's the traveling, meeting people from different places. Yeah.
All right, great. I-77 also asked another question. What is the hardest thing you had to do as an aeronautical engineer? Hopefully you're still there, and that's not
The hardest
too hard a
thing
question.
I had to do?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, can you repeat your
So
question?
yes, what is the hardest thing you had to do as an aeronautical engineer?
Well, this is yeah, a very good question. One of the things, one of the tasks that are very important, and yeah, gladly it happened just a few times in my life when in my career life. It's whenever aircraft is stuck out of base, right? Uh, because of a technical problem. And I remember there was a big technical problem happened outside base. You need to travel. You need to because yeah, you need to go to that location, and you have very limited time. You have limited tools. It's not your base. Maintenance support you need, like always. You go together with also a team of experts with mechanics and engineers, and you have to evaluate based on the situation. You have to make the decision whether the aircraft can fly or not. So it's not an easy decision to make. Of course, you are supported with a lot of references, manuals, guidelines, but especially when it comes to the engineering side, it depends. The evaluation depends on your knowledge and experience to make this call whether aircraft is after a fix you recommend to do can fly or not. So I think there is a lot of pressure. You have a big responsibility, and you need to be very careful in the evaluation and making the decision. So I think this part was one of the most difficult parts I experienced. Yeah.
Great, good. Now, I'd say we come back to this. You were starting to talk about new technology and where things were going. What do you think will be the technologies of tomorrow in the aircraft industry that students of today need to start thinking about, whether that's their programming skills and things like that? Where do you think it's heading?
Well, I think it's heading to predictive maintenance. I think it's heading to utilizing AI. I think it's heading to utilizing available solutions like the paperless operation, utilizing blockchain as well to trace records for the aircraft. For example, there's actually an interesting one I evaluated like as a solution. So analytics, how to read the data, analyze the data. So being a data science is an option as well. So, but combination with aeronautical or mechanical, I think if there are certain set of skills to become a data science or data engineer, I think if you have this combination, you would have you're going to increase your chances, let's say, for what is upcoming.
Okay, fantastic, good. Now you talked when we first had one of our first discussions offline before we went live. We talked about the importance of working with mechanics, really getting your hands dirty. Do you want to explain that to? I think the students really need to understand the role of that, and this doesn't just apply to aeronautical students. I know you can reflect upon that as your experiences. So tell us more. Why do you feel that's so important?
No, very good question. Basically, I think, especially when you are working with an airline or a maintenance provider, you always work as a team. The team is including the technical services or the engineering and the mechanics, right? And basically, the solution, or let's say the problem, cannot be fixed unless the team is working together, or unless they are aligned, unless they trust each other, unless they have good, they communicate smoothly and within this team. So basically, what I learned, especially working on the airline side, you gotta, as an engineer, you gotta really build your relationship with the mechanics, because end of the day, the mechanics, the technicians or the mechanics who are on the field, where you are sitting in mostly in the office, they let's say experience all the they witness and experience. They do the job hands-on. They would know what might cause this just from their experience, or they see a lot of maybe repeating faults or problems. So basically, their knowledge and experience, if they tell you something, one lead can solve a big problem, right? Proactively, or make the solution comes earlier, right? So that's why I wanted to say, building this relation with mechanics is first of all very learning. It helps you as a team to fix problems faster, or be proactive before things happen. And the end of the day, maybe you are stuck with mostly with office work and paperwork, with etc., where these guys on the field see what is really happening, and I think that's why you need to build a very good relationship with the mechanics. Otherwise, if you don't do so, you might end up with this maybe tense situation where they think, okay, he's an engineer, and he thinks that he knows more than us, while they have like lots of experience, and like I really worked with a lot of technicians that they have experience more than my age. So in terms of knowledge and experience, they can tell you a lot. So you need to break this barrier from the beginning, and make sure that you're going to learn and help and respect, because on the end of the day, this will help you and the company to resolve issues faster, and will help you personally to get more insights and knowledge for what is happening on the field. Yeah.
Brilliant, very good. Now, I think we're about coming to an end. So anybody watching this live, if you want to ask any more questions, please do put those in the chat box. In the meantime, Mohammad, what would be your key messages to students out there? I know we've got quite a few watching right now in terms of how they approach their career, of the specific things that you should think they should keep in mind. Have you got any thoughts on that?
Sorry, can you
so
repeat your
key
question?
Things, little key things that you could say to students that will help them as they go into the world of work, whether there's top tips that you might have, philosophies that you think they should embrace, technologies that they should have in mind.
In general, generally speaking.
Yes, in general, yeah.
Well, I think Yeah, basically, this is a good thing that happened due to the corona. I believe in the aviation industry that we used to travel to attend and meet people is not, yeah, it was not possible anymore due to the crisis, as you know. Everyone wanted to keep this, interaction between people within the industry, and therefore these events, whether related generally in the what's happening in the industry or specific to maintenance, to operations, to this aircraft type, or to the digital passport now they're talking about, anyone can attend for free, and you don't need to travel. Even if you are a student, you can enroll. So I would recommend for the students who are considering or at this stage where they want to decide what they want to choose or what they want to go for. uh, Many conferences now are available to anyone, so you can listen, understand where this industry is going, what are the problems, what are the technologies, what are the trends, and basically you can just attend those events and just keep an eye and attend. Yeah.
Brilliant. So are there any particular events that you've been to recently or that you've got on your calendar you'd recommend students sign up to join online?
Well, actually, for me, there are specific topics that I tend, what we call the MRO or the maintenance events. And there are those events are regular every 3 to 6 months. I attend at least one event where they talk about the airline recovery, when we expect a pickup on the maintenance side of aircraft, of engines. So this is more, let's say, to me, is a specific topic. But I think for the audience, for the students, just look up or search for airlines, digitalization, those two keywords. You can find a lot of events and conferences happening right now on LinkedIn and many places. So no, there are many actually. Yeah.
Fantastic. Good. So digitalization in airlines, is that what we're Google searching?
In aviation and yeah, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, we've got some more questions. We're not done here yet. Can aeronautical engineers become pilots?
Well, yeah, it's a very good question, and I actually had a long discussion with my father about that. Him being a pilot. Well, for indeed, it's easier for a nautical engineer to become a pilot than any other programs, because end of the day, to become a pilot, you have to go for 2 years for aviation science program before really step into the simulator or the aircraft and to get more hours, etc., and do the learning. But before that, there is at least 2 years of aviation science that includes safety topics, that includes aerodynamics topics, so physics and mathematics, but related to the aviation and aviation problems. So if you if you have aeronautical engineering background, and actually checked before, I always had the thoughts. I was always wondering about if I want to be a pilot, what would be still the requirement. You won't need to do those 2 years of aviation science, at least a big part of it. Okay, because you can show, prove that by the programs and then the courses you took, but you can skip those 2 years and start already on the practical side. Yeah.
All right, great. That's really useful to know. The same person has asked, what are the main responsibilities of an aeronautical engineer?
Wow. Yeah, of course, it depends if you are working for a maintenance provider, an OEM, or an operator. For an operator, I think it's actually a wide scope. But basically, it's within keeping the aircraft airworthy and safe for operation.
Okay.
Including, of course, the maintenance and monitoring, the planning, the evaluation of new modifications. But just to summarize, it's the continuous airworthiness.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Well, I think we are nearly at the end now. We have had no more questions come in. I keep glancing over to see if we've got any more there. If anybody does have questions and you're watching this on demand, for example, there is the chat box below the video so that you can put questions in there and we can chase Mohammed down so he can answer those. So do utilize that. Great. And Mohammed, thank you so much for being a fantastic guest today. I found it really insightful, and I'm already getting feedback from people in the chat. They too have found it very interesting and insightful. Students I can see have found it really informative. You've got really into the nitty-gritty detail that people need to know about. So thank you for sharing your career journey with us. But before we go, there is one thing that we did do, is this is the Drive Live with an Engineer series, and one of the things that we always talk about is the metaphorical vehicles that you've driven on your journey. And well, they're not always metaphorical in your case, because they are actually the vehicles that you've been driving during these roles. So do you want to talk us through this, Mohammed? Your cars that you've had over the course of your career and where you want to be going in the future.
Yeah, this is an interesting exercise, but yeah, actually we can go left to right from with the Hyundai accent, and actually it's a car that it was my mom's car when I actually was going to the company where I had my internship. And actually it was not that easy to go to the airport. I was living in the north of the city of Amman, and the airport was in the very south of Amman. And basically it was like when I used the public transportation, it will take me forever. So luckily my mom gave me her car to go to, and for 1 year to attend my internship. So thanks to mom. But basically this Hyundai explain where I was, let's say, during my internship, and then moving to Royal Jordanian, where I got my first car, and it was Lancer, Mitsubishi Lancer EX. So the first car I purchased. So thank support OG or evacuation or of the aircraft. So I would say I spent a lot of time on the road going to the airport in the first 4 to 5 years in my career. I was very focused actually on it, and I was enjoying it. We to the Mercedes GLA. This is the car I have right now, and then basically I got this car when after I moved to the Netherlands. So yeah, although maybe in the Netherlands people are more into bikes, but no, I needed this car. And also after I married, and me and my wife, we also like to do some road trips and to do some travelings within Europe. So that's why we also got this SUV. At this stage. And yeah, it's representing my Boeing MTU time at my career. And then for the future, I'm looking for a Porsche Cayenne, where I love this car. It's also a bigger SUV and a high performance car with a big engine. So and I'm into engines, although aero engines, but this is what I want to have next. And basically, if we reflect into my career, I want to I really want to grow into this, have this combination of business background and IT background, and be a leader in the industry. And utilizing the new solutions that are coming up, and making them available to optimize managing fleets for my operator or maintenance provider or my customer, etc. So this is, I think, where I want to go in the future. Yeah.
Brilliant. Just have a bit of fun there. Thank you very much for sharing that. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much. We are done for today. Mohammed, thank you very much for being a wonderful guest. It's been a great pleasure, and I hope you have enjoyed it.
Same.
Well.
Thanks, Dion, and appreciate having me on this show. And also thanks for all the audience for their time today.
Great. Just to remind everybody else, there is a whole playlist of Drive Live with an Engineer interviews with people like Mohammed. We've got another 7 different interviews for you to go back and watch, and we have got more coming up in the future. So keep an eye out for those and do join us again and watch back on demand. Thank you, everybody.